In the physical inventory, what is the updates that we're going to have? But first, before I jump on the updates, I just want to refresh us and remind us the features that we have in the physical inventory that are currently existing in the version that you have. So there are basically two ways in which we can change our stock levels. We have the initial stock inventory. Initial stock inventory, as some of you already know, done when we are migrating Unifield for the first time. Normally have a team of support people who actually sit down, look at your current database, and they take the stock figures that you have on these tools and they import it into Unifield. So they migrate it into Unifield. Another way that you can change your stock levels is also doing a physical inventory. So physical inventory, so the second point here, is what has been has changed. So the version 7 looks slightly different in terms of the window. So still we will have to come in and encode the name of the physical the name of the physical inventory we're doing. Let's say in the example we have like the 4M physical stock count and we're doing it in April. That's what you'll write here, like 4M April stock count. Stock inventory for the medical location, and that's where you'll come and put the information. As you know, blue fields in Unifield mean mandatory, so you can't proceed to anything until you fill in the blue fields. White fields are optional, and the optional field that we have here is who is actually responsible of this physical stock inventory. And then the reference will just come automatically. It's grayed out, so we can't do anything there, but Unifield will give this particular inventory after confirmation. So after the end of your inventory and you've confirmed it and your stock levels have been changed, Unifield will give you a reference here. And then of course by default it gives you the date in which you created the inventory and when you finished. And a couple of new things that are there right now which are different from the one we had before. You have a button saying set as full inventory. So you can say, I want to do a full inventory of the medical location. And this can be the products that you, this is actually the products that you have in medical and the ones that have been having movement for the past, let's say 2, 3, 4 months, or you can even do like more than that. And after if you do want to set it as full inventory, there's a button you click. But you also have the possibility of just saying, I want to have a spot check, or I just want to see what is in my gray stock, or what do I actually have in my cold chain. I want to see what I have in cold chain. If you have a location like that, or spare part, and you can then do like a spot check on a particular group of products that you want in location. You can do that by clicking here on the product selection. So how can we do a physical inventory? We have now two new ways in which we can do the physical inventory. It can be a full stock inventory. So if you're doing, as I said earlier, like a 4M stock inventory, or now even we have the possibility of linking MSR with Unifield, then you do your full stock inventory. Or as I mentioned earlier, if you just want to do a spot check, let's say you want to see only the paras or only the vaccines or only items that are in the spare part, you can say, I just want to do a check on this particular group of products that I normally have in my warehouse. So you have those possibilities, doing a full stock inventory, which will show you everything in your let's say med location, or you can say in the med location, I just want to look at this particular family. And now it's also possible to add products that are already in stock, and also you can have the products that are in movements. Now only possible to select one stock location for the count. To this here, you can see here location. So you can only choose one stock location. You can say, I only want to count the med location, or probably only want to count the log location. A couple of things are generated when you're doing a physical inventory now. This is also very, very new. we have a counting sheet. So once you say, I want to see, oh, Unifield, please give me all the medical products that you think are in the, let's say, the med location. And Unifield will see in its system and say, oh, you should have a look at this counting sheet. You should have this mosquito repellent, tramadol, or lab items in the in this particular med location. And then you print it out and you go with it with your teams and you start writing down what's the real quantity we have now as it sits in the warehouse. And then you have the possibility of telling Unifield to pre-fill the batch number and expiry date. So based on the receptions you did, Unifield will see mosquito repellent. You should have some in you should have some quantity with this batch number and this expiry date. And then you can print it out and go to the warehouse, and then you say, actually, yes, I do have this batch number, and this is 50 of them I'm counting, and I have this batch number and it's 10, and this batch number and it's 50. Or you can tell Unifield, please do not pre-fill this batch number and expiry date for me, like I want to do it by myself, and this will be blank. So it will look something like this. Then it will be up to you to fill in what is the stock that I have in the warehouse, and what is the batch number, and what is going to be the expiry date. You'll have it in Excel. You can also have it in PDF, and you go and you physically go and do your count. You can transfer the information into the Excel, and then you can come back later and import it into Unifield. Quantity that you actually found in the warehouse is what you'll encode in this counting sheet. Lift up your hand in the GoToTraining platform if you have the new MSR. Okay, so you guys are in a very good position actually, because of course now with the new MSR we are also we'll have an export we're going to use with the new MSR and import it to Unifield. So you have this button. So the guys who have not seen the new MSR, this is what it looks like. So you have the second last button written export, and when you click it, it gives you this. These are the exports you can have in the new MSR. You can export the discrepancy report, the inventory, and you can export the inventory in Unifield, and you can export the tool data. Of course, I want to see the export inventory Unifield. And if I click that, and if I extract the KTP med location, extract the counting sheet, and I say, yes, give me the counting sheet. So the quantity and the batch number is there already. This is information from the MSR and not from Unifield. And this is exactly what Unifield is using now. So this is the counting sheet we're going to get from Unifield, what you need to print out from Unifield to go and count your stock level and come back in the system and import. So now, if you use a new MSR, you don't have to extract this information from Unifield. You can get it already from the new MSR, and you can come into the system and import this information. When you have a new line you want to add, a new product you want to add, then you can come down here, and in the very bottom of your inventory counting sheet, you add line number 563, and you say what it is, and please be careful to follow the format that you have in the inventory counting sheet. And then you add the information and the piece, and you write the quantity, batch number, and expiry date. So the ones who don't have the new MSR, it depends on how you want to use it. You can also tell Unifield to prefill it for you or not. But for the ones who have the new MSR, please make sure the counting sheet you get from Unifield is not with batch number and expiry date. You want to get this information from your MSR. Do not modify anything in the counting sheet apart from your quantity, batch number, and expiry date. If you do realize that item 1, these sutures of 656 are actually not there, delete it from the list. Don't do that. If you know If you see that you have this first item is not existing in your it's not existing in your warehouse, what you need to do is to come here and say, I'm going to put the quantity as 0. I hope that's clear. Do not delete a line. Do not manipulate anything apart from the quantity, batch number, and the expiry date. So if you want to add something into your stock count, what you need to do, as I explained earlier, come all the way to the bottom of your counting sheet. So we have line 12 here. Come and add line 13 and say I have some new lab items, some urine test with this code and this description, and of course follow the format that you have here, pieces, and say how many you have, what batch number you have, expiry date, and specification here is if it's a dangerous good or if it's like a controlled substance, you indicate there, and is it batch number and expiry date managed, you indicate there. But do not, with the accounting sheet that you've already been extracted for you, do not come in and adjust the lines themselves. You can only work on these areas here. You can only work on the quantity and batch number and expiry date. So only these areas here is where you can work on. After you do the after you've imported your counting sheet, let's say you imported it from your MSR or you did it by yourself, you didn't have the new MSR and you went and you did the counting with your teams and you came and imported the file, what is generated from Unifield is a discrepancy report. So a discrepancy report, it will show you what discrepancies do you have. So let's say that you had the urine test you had counted for, Unifield thought you should have 50 and now you have 25. Unifield is going to extract later a discrepancy report like, okay, so we do notice that you don't have 25 in your stock. This is the value of the discrepancy that you have. This is the percentage of discrepancy in the total stock inventory you did. So what is the explanation for your discrepancies? Did you have something that went in loss? Did you move something in quarantine? Is it something that you gave for a sample to someone else? You need to not justify, but you need to explain why you have the discrepancy. And only after you filled in the discrepancy report, then you can go back to Unifield and you can review the discrepancies. But if you also don't count some items, you're looking at DORAs and you counted the paras and you didn't count the not all, you need to decide what do you want Unifield to do about the ones that you have not counted. Do you want it to just say, we assume it's existing in the system, or do you want to adjust the quantity to 0, meaning that maybe you actually don't see them in the warehouse? You can do as many counts as you want. So you can do recount even after you've imported the inventory counting sheet. You can keep on counting and making sure that you have the correct figures of your stock in your warehouse before you come into the system and you confirm your inventory. Once you confirm, then your stock figures are going to be adjusted. So do you have any questions? I would like to jump into the system and just show you also how it looks like right now. You come to the warehouse, as we do right now, inventory management, and then come to physical inventories. So we want to do a new physical inventory. 4M physical inventory. And it's the month of April 2017, and I want to do a physical inventory for the full instance, of course, for the medical. Just to show you the options that you still have here. You have your stock, which is the med, the log, the med, and you have your spare part and gray stock. So let's say we want to see what we have in our med stock. And this is where now you choose for it to be set as a full inventory, or if you just want a snapshot, you come down to the product selection eventually. But for the responsible, I would say show supply log. Okay, just do that. Set as full inventory. You get a message telling you, are you sure you want to do it? Because it's irreversible after you've done you set it as full inventory. If you say yes, you get a tick on this box telling you like, okay, actually you are doing a full inventory. So I'll come now, after I do that, I'll come and say I want to upload the product. So I want to select the products from that location. And Unifil asks me, okay, there's a full inventory. We are going to give you all the products that are in that location and all products with movement in the last couple of months that you want to have it. So let's say I want to see all the products in the med location that had movements within 4 months that I am doing my 4M report. The moment I come and say refresh, the products will upload here. So you see I have around 46 of them. Some of them are batch number managed. Some of them are expiry date managed. Say add the products, they will be populated on the form here. When I go down and I say generate counting sheet, this window comes up and it asks me, do you want Unifield to pre-fill the batch number and expiry dates for these 46 products, or do you just want to do it by yourself? And I say generate counting sheet, and what happens is another tab opens up here. And even after we finish the counting sheet and we've done our counting and we want to do the discrepancy, we will have also another tab opening up here. So pay attention on the tabs here. On the second tab, you see counting sheet. And this is where you can export the counting sheet. You can have it as PDF, give it to storekeeper. You can go and physically write what is seen there with the people who are supervising the counting. Or you can go with your own laptop, and if your storekeeper has a laptop and you have your supply team there, you give them the Excel sheet and they can have this export here, and they can come and write what they're counting, what's the batch number, and the expiry date. So let's say I came in here and I counted like 23, and I had like this batch number. Let's save this counting sheet. So I have my physical inventory, and this is for the 4M April, and I will save it there. And I come back to Unifield, and I say there's my physical inventory, the what we've counted, and import the counting sheet. So it tells me the counting sheet successfully imported. So I will say close, and you will see that the batch number and expiry date and the quantities are going to be translated here. So I say this is my counting and I'm satisfied about it, and I finish it. So what Unifield is going to do is it's going to give me a discrepancy report. And as I said, the action is going to happen just here on the tabs. So you see another tab is added with a discrepancy report. So you click on the discrepancy report and it tells you what discrepancies you actually have in the system. So I want to generate my discrepancies. I want to see what Unifield thinks I should have at discrepancies, and it gives me almost everything, because of course I just went in and filled in my own items. So I can have here, I can say, I want you to count everything as 0. So this is my new stock level. Count everything as 0. That means it will come and it will say this batch number and this expiry date, I am going to count it as 0. I can also say ignore everything. If I say ignore, go with the quantity that you think I should have there. So if I say ignore and validate, finish the inventory, before validation and before we adjust any of the stock levels, you have two options. You can go back again, and if you're not sure, you can do a recount. And if you're not sure, you can do a recount. And if you are very sure, then you confirm the inventory. Once you confirm the inventory, on the footer information here, then your stock levels are going to be adjusted by the information that you gave the system. If I come back and say I want to do a recount, then I go back again and I have access to the inventory counting sheet, and I can do another recount session again like what we had before. Print the Excel of the discrepancy report. You cannot proceed to confirm the inventory until you come and explain why you think you have a discrepancy. Where you need to come and do your explanation is on the adjustment types. Was a loss, and this was something that went into scrap, and you come and import it, or you can also just come line by line and you say, for this lotion, I actually have the following reasoning why I had the discrepancy. So these are the what you need to fill in the adjustment type. So you have loss. So loss, scrap, it's a something that went to sample. It's an expiry. It's a damage. It's just another discrepancy, maybe, or you can have other, where you can now get into much more details of what exactly is the other discrepancy that you have. Once you've done so, as I said earlier, you're very, very sure about the recounts you've had, then you want to come back and then you want to say, I'm going to now validate my inventory. For the purpose of this exercise, I will not do it because I don't want to mess up this inventory that I have here in the med location, because I know my people are using it for testing. So I will not do the confirm, but once I do the confirmation, then my figures will be adjusted with the information that I put in the counting sheet. I also want to show you how to do a partial inventory. So how do you do a spot check? So let's say we do January. I will do that January here. Click the product selection. So I come here and I say product selection. A couple of filters is asking me. The first one, do I just want to see the products that are currently in that stock location? Or do I want to see products with recent movement at the stock location? I just want to see what is sitting in my warehouse. So products in my stock location. Do I want to see all products? Or do I want to see from a specific family, meaning do I want to see my injectables? Do I want to see my oral drugs? Do I want to see my lab items? Or do I want to see from a list? Let's imagine you have lists already, like you have a stationery list, you have your MSL, you have your LSL, or from APU, you can select those there. Or do I just want to see specific drugs, like what I have in my cold chain, which is the Keep Cool KC, my CS, controlled substances, or my DG, my dangerous goods? Then if I select that, then I will get more refining. Let's say if I say from all the products and refresh, it comes and gives me all the products that I have here. So I say, give me all the products that we have in the medical stock location. Without any movement, it gives me that. And this is where now you can go and say, I want to generate like a counting sheet. So it comes in here, and I can say I want pre-fill the batch number and expiry dates. And let's try now with pre-filling, because in the last example I showed you how to do it without batch number and expiry date. So now let's try with batch number and expiry date, the one that Unifield is suggesting for us. So Unifield it opens up another tab, the counting sheet. And once I come to the counting sheet, it gives me, see, for the repellent, I have this batch number and that's the expiry date. And the second repellent is a different batch number and that's the expiry date item. And I get the batch number and expiry dates already pre-filled by Unifield. Then from here onwards, it's the same thing as a full physical inventory. You come and you export an Excel counting sheet, or you can come and do the PDF, and you go into the warehouse and you do your check. You do your check, and then you come back and you import your file, and then you can continue to see if there's any discrepancy. If there's any discrepancy, you need to say, why do I have this discrepancy on the adjustment type? So you will get your discrepancy report, and then you have to come and say, okay, for this item, this is why I have a discrepancy, and it's a loss, it's a scrap, it's a sample. You come in here and you indicate that. So it's the same process as you do a physical inventory, but this is really on a spot check, like what do I have from this family or from this particular product list and at this time in this particular location. So the difference between the full inventory is you'll have stock on that location plus the movement, let's say in the last 4 months or 5 months or 6 months. But if you do a spot check, it's just looking at the current state of stock, what you have in your stock as of now in that particular location where you're looking at. So those are the differences, the different ways in which you will do your physical inventory, partial or full. And as I said earlier, if you're going to use the new MSR, please indicate that you don't want Unifield to give you, you don't want Unifield to pre-fill for you the batch number and expiry date. You want Unifield, you want yourself to get this information from the MSR. So as I said here, if I come in here and I say, I want to see the movement in the last 4 months and I refresh, and Unifield gives me this information. When I come and add the products and I want to do the counting, I don't want Unifield to give me to pre-fill for me this batch number and expiry date. I want to get this information from the MSR. So for the guys who are using MSR, please make sure you untick this. And for the ones who are not using MSR, up to you to decide which way you want to do it. Do you want to fill it in or don't you want to have it pre-filled?